Alhamdulillah, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. May peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Have you ever sat alone with your thoughts and felt as though your mind was louder than your heart? As if every fear had a voice, every memory had a shadow, and every unanswered question kept circling, refusing to let you rest? Sometimes we don't break because of the hardship itself. We break because of the stories we create around it. The what ifs, the why me, the what will happen next. And in these moments, Allah gently asks us to pause, to breathe, to remember, because there is a quiet truth that your heart already knows. You were never created to carry the entire weight of your life alone. You were never meant to solve every uncertainty or heal every wound by yourself. Allah says that He is closer than your jugular vein, closer than your anxieties, closer than the thoughts that overwhelm you. And when something is that close to you, it means help has never been far away. There is an unseen mercy in the way Allah writes your story. Sometimes He delays what you are begging for because the timing is not yet safe for your heart. Sometimes He removes a person because their presence would have dimmed your light. Sometimes He closes one door because the place you begged to stay in would have destroyed you. And sometimes Allah lets your heart break, not to punish you, but to rebuild you, softer, deeper, more alive, more connected to Him. What feels like confusion to you is clarity from Him. What feels like loss to you is protection from Him. What feels like waiting to you is preparation from Him. We overthink because we forget who is in control. We replay the past because we think we could have rewritten it. We fear the future because we imagine walking into it without Allah. But the moment you remember that your story is held by the most loving, the most wise, the most gentle, your thoughts begin to quiet. The storm inside you begins to settle. This is what Sabr truly means. Not the absence of pain, but the refusal to let that pain make you doubt the one who never leaves you. And yes, the struggle is real. There are nights when the heart aches in secret. Days when waiting feels heavy, when uncertainty feels like a test you're failing, when people misunderstand you. When your prayers seem unanswered, when your tears fall quietly in places no one sees. But even then, especially then, Allah sees you. Allah hears you. Allah is responding in ways far greater than the answers you're imagining. The Prophet taught us that not even a leaf falls without Allah's knowledge. So how could your heartbreak fall unnoticed? How could your patience go unseen? If you want to stop overthinking, return to the one who created your mind. Whisper His name until your heartbeat slows. Place your fears into His hands one by one. Remind yourself that Qadr is not a threat. It's a promise. A promise that what is written for you will reach you even if every barrier stands in its way. And what is not written for you will slip away even if you chase it with your entire soul. Your job is effort. Allah's job is outcome. Your job is sincerity. Allah's job is result. Your job is to walk. Allah's job is to open the path beneath your feet. So breathe and loosen your grip on what you cannot control. Replace your inner noise with dhikr. Replace your questions with dua. Replace your fear with tawakkul. Trust that you are exactly where Allah wants you to be right now, even if you don't understand the chapter yet. One day you will look back and say, if I had known the mercy hidden in that delay, I would have cried out of gratitude instead of fear. And until that day comes, walk gently with your heart, knowing that Allah is holding it. Walk lightly with your future, knowing it is already written with divine care. And walk away from overthinking, because the one who created you is guiding you always, lovingly, perfectly, toward what is best. If you'd like, I can expand any key point, write a conclusion, or create a full YouTube script with timestamps. Overthinking often begins the moment your heart tries to carry what was never meant to be carried by you. There are burdens that were always meant to rest only with Allah, yet we place them on our shoulders as if our worrying could somehow rewrite what has already been written. The mind spirals, the heart tightens, And suddenly every possibility becomes a threat. Every silence becomes a fear. Every delay becomes a sign of failure. This happens because the heart forgets its true owner. It forgets that the one who created the storm also created the shelter. And the one who wrote the test also wrote the ease. When you try to control outcomes, predict the unseen, analyze every word, every action, every moment, your heart becomes exhausted. It was not designed for that kind of weight. The soul suffocates under the pressure of expectations it was never meant to fulfill. Allah did not ask you to figure everything out. He asked you to trust Him. He did not ask you to hold the entire world together. He asked you to turn to Him when it falls apart. Overthinking is the mind's attempt to play God, trying to see what only Allah sees, control what only Allah controls, and fix what only Allah can fix. And that's why it hurts so deeply. That's why it keeps you awake at night and steals the calm from your chest. Because the heart is overstretching itself beyond its purpose. But peace begins the moment you hand back to Allah what was never yours. When you whisper, Ya Allah, this is too heavy for me, but not too heavy for you. Something inside you softens. Your thoughts slow. Your chest loosens. And your soul remembers its place. Not as the planner, but as the one who relies on the planner. The heart was created to lean, not to carry. And when you finally let it lean on Allah, the weight you feared becomes the very doorway to your peace. Peace begins the moment you stop trying to control what was never yours to control and surrender the outcome to the one who already knows it. The heart tightens when it tries to predict what will happen, fix what is beyond its reach, or rewrite a future that is not yet meant to be revealed. But the soul finds calm when it remembers that Allah has already written the ending long before the beginning even appeared in your life. He knows the fears you carry, the questions you bury, and the paths you cannot yet see. And in that divine knowing there is safety, because nothing in your life is unfolding randomly. When you trust that Allah sees what you cannot, the constant pressure to manage every detail starts to fade. You stop replaying conversations in your mind, stop imagining worst-case scenarios, and stop measuring your worth by the outcomes you desire. Instead, you begin to breathe differently. You begin to walk through life with a lighter step because you understand that your responsibility is effort, not results. Your responsibility is sincerity, not perfection. Your responsibility is to show up with faith, not to force what is beyond you. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means giving the outcome to Allah. It means saying, Ya Allah, you choose for me, because your choosing is better than my wanting. True trust is knowing that if something is written for you, no power on earth can keep it away. And if something is not written for you, no amount of worry can bring it closer. Trust is not passive. It is an active turning of the heart toward the one who never fails. And when you finally surrender the outcome, a quiet peace begins to settle inside you. The noise of fear lessens. The whispers of doubt soften because you are no longer trying to navigate life alone. You are walking with the certainty that Allah is carrying what you cannot, guiding where you cannot see, and planning for you in ways more beautiful than your imagination ever could. Trust is built the moment you remember that Allah's plan is written with mercy, not confusion. When life feels tangled, when your path feels unclear, when the timing feels painfully slow, the heart starts to believe that something is wrong. But nothing Allah decrees for you is ever written in chaos. Even the moments that feel like setbacks are placed with precision. Even the delays are arranged with gentleness. Sometimes the plan feels confusing to you only because you're standing too close to it. You can only see one page, while Allah holds the entire book. There are times when the heart whispers, why is this happening to me? Or why didn't this work out? It is in these moments that you must remember the nature of the one who is writing your story. Allah is Al-Latif, the most subtle. He weaves mercy into places you don't notice at first. He hides protection in what feels like disappointment. He places guidance inside moments of uncertainty. What looks like a detour to you is often the straightest path to what your soul truly needs. Trust is not built by understanding every detail. It is built by knowing the author. When you remind your heart that Allah does not confuse His servants, that He does not mislead them, that He never withholds except to give in a better way, something inside you softens. You begin to realize that your confusion is temporary, but His mercy is constant. Your questions are human, but His wisdom is divine. And slowly the heart shifts. Instead of asking, why is this happening? It begins to whisper, there must be a mercy here that I cannot see yet. Instead of fearing the unknown, it begins to believe that the unknown is simply another place where Allah will show His care. Trust becomes easier when you look at your life through the lens of His compassion rather than the lens of your confusion. Because every chapter He writes, even the difficult ones, carries a mercy that will eventually reveal itself. Life becomes lighter the moment you stop replaying what hurt you and start remembering the one who heals you. The mind has a way of holding on to pain long after the moment has passed. You replay conversations, regrets, betrayals, and losses, as if repeating them could somehow soften the impact. But every replay only deepens the wound, making the heart relive what it's already survived. Pain grows when it's fed, and overthinking becomes its fuel. The more you revisit the hurt, the more it takes root inside you, shaping how you see yourself, others, and even your future. But healing begins when you redirect your focus, not toward the wound, but toward the one who created the cure. When you shift your gaze from the person who broke you to the Lord who can mend you, something inside you begins to realign. You remember that Allah is Ash-Shafi, the healer. He knows the exact place where your heart is tender. He knows the story behind every tear and the weight behind every silence. And His healing doesn't require the person who hurt you to apologize, return, or change. It only requires your willingness to let your heart seek Him instead of clinging to the pain. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is often prolonged by the stories we tell ourselves about that pain. When you fill your thoughts with what harmed you, you give the past authority over your present. But when you fill your thoughts with dhikr, with Qur'anic reminders, with the mercy of Allah, the past begins to loosen its grip. The hurt becomes a chapter, not a destination. Remembering Allah does not erase the memory of the hurt, but it transforms its meaning. You stop seeing it as a punishment and start seeing it as part of your becoming, an invitation to grow closer to Allah, to rely more deeply on Him, and to understand that every pain you endured was witnessed by the one who promises healing with every hardship. When the heart remembers Him more than it remembers the hurt, that is when it finally begins to breathe again. Every delay in your life carries a purpose, even when that purpose feels hidden behind silence, waiting, or unanswered prayers. The human heart naturally aches for immediacy, immediate clarity, immediate solutions, immediate relief. And when that relief doesn't come on your timeline, the mind begins to wonder if something has gone wrong. But nothing in Allah's timing is ever wrong. Delay is not abandonment. Delay is not denial. Delay is often the gentle space where Allah prepares you for what you're asking for and prepares what you're asking for you. There are blessings that would overwhelm you if they came too soon. There are doors that would harm you if they opened before your heart was ready. Sometimes Allah delays because the path is not yet safe, because the people involved are not yet aligned, or because your heart still needs strength, clarity, or healing before receiving what it longs for. What you see as slowness is, in reality, divine precision. What you interpret as waiting is actually Allah arranging the perfect moment with wisdom only He can see. When you trust that every delay is deliberate, your heart begins to soften. You stop resenting the pauses in your life and begin recognizing them as places where Allah is working quietly. The Prophet reminded us that Allah is too merciful to write anything for the believer except what is good. Sometimes that good reveals itself immediately. Other times it unfolds only after patience has sculpted your heart into a vessel capable of receiving it. A delay is often the space where Allah transforms you. It's where you learn sabr, where you shed old attachments, where you discover inner strength you didn't know you had. It's where your dua deepens and your reliance on Allah becomes real. And one day, when the prayer is finally answered or the door finally opens, you will look back and realize that the timing was not late. It was perfect. Nothing in your life is random because Allah does not write without wisdom. Every moment you experience, every joy, every heartbreak, every person you meet, every path that opens, every door that closes, each one is placed with intention. Sometimes you look at your circumstances and feel as though you've been thrown into chaos, as if life is happening to you without meaning. But the truth is, your entire journey is designed with divine precision. What feels accidental to you is intentional from Him. What feels unexpected to you is already perfectly aligned in His plan. There are moments you may wonder, why this? Why now? Why me? And it's natural to ask, but the deeper reality is that Allah sees the entire picture while you only see a single frame. You see the moment, He sees the outcome. You see the struggle, He sees the growth. You see the delay, He sees the preparation. Even the people who enter and leave your life are not by coincidence. Some are meant to teach you, some are meant to test you, and some are meant to shape you into who you need to become. Nothing is purposeless. When you begin to understand that your story isn't a series of random events, but a carefully written script, your heart relaxes. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as a traveler guided by Allah's wisdom. You begin to trust that the challenges were not punishments, but pathways. That the disappointments were not setbacks, but shields. That the moments of ease were reminders of His mercy. And the moments of difficulty were reminders of His closeness. Every experience you've had has been preparing you for the next step. Even when you didn't realize it. When you embrace this truth, overthinking loses its power. You no longer struggle to understand every twist in your journey, because you know the one writing it makes no mistakes. Overthinking begins to weaken the moment the heart strengthens its connection to Allah through Dhikr. Remembrance has a way of quieting the noise that fear creates. Worry speaks loudly, but the name of Allah speaks deeper. When the mind is left empty, it becomes a playground for anxiety, imagining possibilities that may never happen, replaying moments that cannot be changed, building fears out of shadows. But when the heart is filled with the remembrance of Allah, the noise inside you begins to soften, because the soul can never hold His name and fear at the same time with equal intensity. Dhikr is not just a ritual, it is medicine. It steadies your breath. It realigns your perspective. It reminds you that you are not walking through your thoughts alone. When you say Subhanallah, you remember that Allah is free from imperfection, even in His timing and His choices for you. When you whisper Alhamdulillah, you remember that even in hardship, there are blessings holding you upright. When you say Allahu Akbar, your worries shrink because you remember that nothing is greater than the one who protects you. When you breathe out La ilaha illa Allah, you release the illusion of control and return to the truth that only Allah can guide your steps. Remembrance shifts the heart from fear to clarity. It brings a light inside you that pushes back the darkness of uncertainty. Dhikr calms the thoughts not by answering every question, but by reminding you that the one who has the answers is with you. And when the heart feels His nearness, the mind no longer feels the need to solve everything alone. Slowly, the thoughts that once overwhelmed you start to lose their grip. The worries that once felt heavy begin to fade. Because when you strengthen your remembrance of Allah, the fears that once dominated your mind are replaced with a quiet, steady peace that comes only from knowing Him. Sabr is not just sitting still while time passes. It is an active, living trust in the timing of Allah. Many people think patience is simply waiting, but true sabr is what happens inside the heart while you wait. It is the choice to remain steady even when fear rises. It is the decision to trust even when you cannot see the path. It is the quiet surrender that says, Ya Allah, I don't understand yet, but I know your wisdom is greater than my understanding. Sabr is the inner strength that forms when your plans fall apart, yet you continue believing that Allah's plan is better. It is the humility of accepting that you cannot rush what He has delayed, nor hold on to what He has released. Sabr is the internal discipline that keeps you from searching for shortcuts through hardship, because you know the process itself is shaping you. It teaches you to breathe when the heart aches, to stay soft when life feels harsh, and to remain hopeful even when every door seems closed. This kind of patience is not passive. It is not weakness. It is the courage to keep showing up with faith every single day. It is choosing not to crumble under uncertainty, but to find comfort in the one who controls certainty. Sabr is the bridge between your dua and its answer. The space where your soul is molded, refined, and cleansed from attachments that once burdened you. When you embrace Sabr, you stop measuring life by how fast things happen and start measuring it by how deeply you grow. You begin to see delays not as obstacles, but as divine pauses meant to strengthen your heart. You trust that every moment of waiting is witnessed by Allah, every tear recorded, every silent endurance rewarded. And slowly, the waiting becomes lighter, because your heart is no longer waiting for life to change. It is waiting for Allah's perfect timing. Your worry can never change what has already been written for you, but your dua has the power to invite ease, mercy, and miracles into that very destiny. Overthinking makes us believe that if we think hard enough, fear enough, or prepare enough, we can somehow alter the outcome. But destiny is not shaped by the weight of your worry. It is shaped by the wisdom of Allah. Nothing moves, shifts, arrives, or departs without His command. And when the heart finally understands this, it stops exhausting itself with the illusion of control. Worry drains the soul because it tries to solve problems using fear. Dua nourishes the soul because it hands those problems to Allah with trust. Worry keeps you trapped inside your mind, imagining every scenario that could go wrong. Dua lifts you out of your mind and places you into the presence of the one who can make everything go right, even when the situation seems impossible. Worry makes you feel alone. Dua reminds you that you have never been alone for even a single breath. When you raise your hands and whisper your fears to Allah, something shifts inside you. You are no longer trying to battle life on your own. You are calling upon the one who says be, and it is. Dua may not always change the decree, but it can change your heart, strengthen your patience, lighten your burden, and open doors you didn't even know existed. Sometimes Allah doesn't change the situation because He wants your dua to change you first. The moment you choose dua over worry, you are choosing connection over isolation, faith over fear, surrender over struggle. You are saying, Ya Allah, I cannot do this alone. Carry what I cannot carry. And Allah never turns away a heart that comes to Him in vulnerability in that sacred moment of calling upon Him. You experience a peace no amount of overthinking could ever give. Hardship is never a sign that Allah has abandoned you. It is often the clearest sign that He is shaping you. When life becomes heavy, when prayers feel delayed, when the heart aches in places no one sees, the mind begins to whisper that maybe you are alone, maybe you are forgotten, but the truth is the opposite. Hardship is not distance from Allah, it is closeness disguised in a language the heart learns slowly. Allah draws you through what softens you, through what humbles you, through what makes you return to Him with sincerity you may not have found in ease. Every difficulty you face has a purpose. Sometimes it comes to remove arrogance, sometimes to teach gratitude, sometimes to redirect your path, sometimes to awaken your heart, sometimes to detach you from what harms you, and sometimes to prepare you for blessings far greater than what you were praying for. The Prophet reminded us that when Allah loves a servant, He tests them, not to break them, but to elevate them. Hardship is not a punishment, it is a purification. It removes the dust that has settled on the heart, the illusions you relied on, and the attachments that kept you distant. When everything seems to be falling apart, it is often Allah rearranging your life in a way you wouldn't have chosen, but in a way your soul needs. He knows which doors must close so that better ones can open. He knows which hearts must leave so your own heart can find him again. He knows which disappointments must unfold so you can learn resilience, sabr, and tawakkul. And even in your most painful moments, Allah is closer than your tears. He sees the effort no one sees. He hears the whispers no one hears. He strengthens you in ways no one understands. Hardship is not the absence of His mercy. It is one of its deepest expressions, because through it He is crafting a stronger, purer, more spiritually awake version of you. What you lost was never meant to anchor you, and what is written for you will never miss you. The heart breaks most deeply when it clings to something it believes it cannot live without. A person, an opportunity, a dream, a moment in life that felt perfect until it slipped away. The mind begins to replay the loss again and again, trying to understand where things went wrong, trying to rebuild what Allah Himself removed. But the truth is, what was written to leave could never have stayed. And what is written to stay could never be pushed away, even if the entire world tried. Loss feels painful because we often attach our worth to what we had. We believe losing something means we have failed, or that something was taken from us without reason. But Allah does not take except to replace with wisdom, growth, purification, or a better path. The things you lost were never the foundation of your life. They were temporary gifts meant to shape you, teach you, soften you, or redirect you. Your anchor was never meant to be created things. Your anchor was always meant to be the Creator. Sometimes the loss itself is the protection. Sometimes the unanswered prayer is the blessing. Sometimes the thing you're grieving is the very thing Allah removed because it would have harmed you in ways you could not yet see. The heart rarely understands it in the moment, but time always reveals the mercy behind every closed door. When you trust that what is meant for you will find its way to you, the heart relaxes. You stop chasing what was never yours. You stop blaming yourself for what slipped away. The grip of regret begins to loosen, and instead of asking, why did I lose this? You begin to whisper, Ya Allah, guide me toward what is truly mine. Because what is written for you, your risk, your relationships, your opportunities, your moments of joy will arrive with a precision no human effort can match. It will unfold exactly when and how Allah intends, and it will carry a peace that reminds your heart that nothing destined for you will ever pass you by. Overthinking often grows from trying to carry tomorrow with a heart that was only created for today. The mind races ahead, imagining possibilities that haven't happened, fearing outcomes that may never arrive, building entire stories out of uncertainty. But Allah did not ask you to live in tomorrow. He asked you to trust Him today. The Quran reminds us that sustenance comes day by day, mercy comes moment by moment, and relief arrives exactly when it is written. Your responsibility is this breath, this moment, this step, not the ones that haven't been created yet. The anxiety of overthinking comes from believing you must prepare for every outcome, fix every possibility, and protect yourself from every unseen moment. But that pressure was never yours to hold. Only Allah knows what tomorrow carries, because only He has written it. When you try to take ownership of the future, you step into a space that belongs only to Him. And the heart feels that weight. It becomes restless, overwhelmed, and afraid because it is trying to function outside its design. True peace begins when you learn to return to the present, when you remind yourself that Allah is taking care of what you cannot see. Today is where you worship. Today is where you make dua. Today is where you show patience, gratitude, and trust. Tomorrow will come guided by His mercy, not by your fear. When you ground yourself in the present moment, the noise of the future begins to quiet. You start noticing blessings you once overlooked. You feel the calm in saying, Ya Allah, I trust you with what comes next. You realize that Allah has never asked you to control the future, only to walk toward it with faith. Every tomorrow has already been taken care of by the one who loves you more than you can imagine. And when the heart truly believes this, it no longer fears the unseen. It walks into it with serenity, knowing that the one who holds tomorrow is the same one holding your hand today. When you stop allowing other people's opinions to define your worth, you unlock a new level of inner freedom that changes how you walk through life. Key point 13 invites you to rise above the noise of external judgment and step into the strength that comes from knowing who you are, not who others think you should be. Most people move through the world reacting to what others say, adjusting themselves constantly just to fit in or avoid criticism. But the moment you understand that people speak from their own fears, insecurities, and limited understanding, you stop taking their words as truth and start seeing them as reflections of their own inner world. You realize that no one else has lived your journey, felt your pain, seen your private prayers, or understood the depth of your intentions. So how can they possibly be the ones to define your identity or your destiny? When you detach from opinions, you stop shrinking yourself every time someone misunderstands you. You stop over-explaining, stop seeking validation, and stop chasing approval that never satisfies the heart. Instead, you begin choosing what aligns with your values, your growth, and your purpose. You become quieter on the outside, but stronger on the inside. You start trusting your decisions, even when others doubt them. And the most powerful shift happens when you realize that the people who criticize you today may one day admire your courage to become the person they never had the bravery to be themselves. Freeing yourself from opinions doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you authentic. It allows you to show up as your real self without fear of being misunderstood. And when you live from a place of authenticity, you attract the right people, the right opportunities, and the right energy that resonates with who you truly are. Letting go of the past is one of the hardest battles a person can fight because the past is familiar, even when it hurts. Key point 14 reminds you that healing is not about pretending things never happened. It's about refusing to let what happened control the rest of your life. Many people carry old wounds as if they are still fresh, replaying conversations, reliving betrayals, and reopening doors that God has already closed for their protection. But the moment you understand that you cannot step into a new chapter while holding on to the weight of an old one, something inside you begins to shift. You realize that the past is not meant to be a place where you live. It is meant to be a place where you learn. Letting go doesn't mean you forget the lessons. It means you release the emotional grip those memories have on you. It means you stop giving energy to moments that no longer exist and start giving attention to the future that is calling your name. You begin to understand that growth requires space, and you cannot grow when your heart is overcrowded with old pain. The more you release, the more you make room for peace, clarity, and new blessings that were always meant for you, but could never enter a heart still holding on to yesterday. Sometimes the past feels safer simply because it is known, while the future feels frightening because it is unknown. But every beautiful transformation in life begins with walking away from something familiar. When you choose to let go, you reclaim your power. You stop letting someone else's actions dictate your emotions. You stop allowing a temporary chapter to define your entire story. And slowly, the wounds begin to close. Not because they never existed, but because you finally chose yourself over your memories. In the end, everything you are seeking, peace, clarity, direction, healing, has always been waiting for you in the same place with Allah. Life will continue to test you, storms will continue to rise, and moments of fear will still try to shake your heart. But the one who anchors their soul to the one who never changes will never be swept away. Trusting Allah is not about ignoring the pain. It is about knowing that even the pain is part of a divine plan written with perfect wisdom. It is about believing that what leaves was never meant to stay, what breaks was never meant to hold you, and what hurts was meant to teach you something only pain could teach. So walk forward now, not with fear, but with faith, not with overthinking, but with surrender, not with doubt, but with the quiet certainty that the one who has carried you this far will not abandon you now. Let your heart rest in the promise that Allah's timing is flawless, His decree is protection, and His mercy is greater than every worry that has ever kept you awake at night. You were not created to live in circles of anxiety. You were created to rise, to heal, to trust, and to return to Him with a heart that knows where home truly is. Hold this truth close. When you let go of what you cannot control and place your trust in the one who controls everything, you do not lose. You are finally free.